China decides to launch off a hypersonic missile that has the capability of going from the mainland over here to the US, sparking lots of conversation over what we could do to defend against something like this, or several other conversations as to what this means going forward. And yet China denies the fact that they ever even did this. So we will talk about what's going on there. In other news, Biden is to re-implement Trump's Remain in Mexico policy next month. So we'll talk a bit about what's going on with that. Seattle Public Schools are suspending nearly 150 bus routes due to driver shortage. So we'll talk just a bit about what's going on there. And the ACLU backs a compelled speech policy in Loudoun County. It's going to be all this and more. Let's go, Brandon. I'm Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. It appears my allergies have decided to come back up again, so bear with that there, but it's time for the show. And by the way, just a couple updates off of this. I am exhausted right now because dumbass right here decided he was going to take 4 hours to do a cooking stream in the middle of the afternoon. 4 hours on a cooking stream. It was more than that by the end. No, it was 4 hours by the time everything was all said and done. If I'd have got started a little bit earlier, it probably wouldn't have been 4 hours, but it was 4 hours by the time everything was all said and done. So for 4 hours, we did a cooking stream instead of me getting up and doing the Red Net document, which I did get up and do last night. So hopefully you guys can come and join us tonight at 6 o'clock p.m., not 5:30, for the Red Net show with Seawall, coming back in here and hanging out with us once again and everything else that he's got going on. So yeah, definitely come and check for that. Plus getting all the stories prepped for the morning here. I don't sort at night, but I do get almost all the stories that I need. And then I go through and do one little last sweep on anything else that could have happened overnight. And that's how the sausage is made. But yeah, I was up until a little bit after midnight before I finally got done working and went to bed. So, but the good news is there are 9 jars sitting out here over on the end table, or the counter rather, that's over at the edge of the kitchen, full of stuff that all sealed. I'm getting better at this canning thing, and I'm not losing jars anymore. Everything is sealing at this point. Who knew that if you overprocess it, it doesn't seal? But yeah, everything is sealing. Everything looks good. I have 3 jars of chicken broth, 2 jars of pickled garlic, and 4 jars of regular pickles. So this will all be really good in a couple months when I can start pulling this stuff out and eating it. It's going to be great. And hopefully, yes, I can get back in and start canning some meat, some other supplies, some other stuff that are essential, some stuff you can actually live off of, not just condiments and stuff to spice everything up and make everything good. But that is a story for a cooking stream, which I do hope to do some more of those, just not 4 hours at a time anymore. We got to get to some news today here. So let's get the monitors up here. Let's get live chat up, see what you guys are doing out for the day, how your morning is. Yeah, a lot of people were there for the cooking stream yesterday. That was pretty cool. I like that. We will definitely be doing that once again, because that was a lot of fun, having the conversation. I've got a place I can mount my phone and just sit there and talk and cut up vegetables and make burgers and stuff like that. It'll be a great time, and I've even got my laptop in there ready to take messages, so I can read your chat while we're doing this. All right, let's get into the news. But before we do that, let's sell some of the wares here, starting with TurnSomePagesProductions.com. Go and check that out. 35 days is what's on the counter yet. I think we might take it just a little bit longer than that, but we will definitely be working on a schedule to try and get this going here because we still need to raise some funding. I've got to pay a bill today on that too, just to make sure that everything is good and kosher with that. But go check out TurnSomePagesProductions.com. A great website. We will carry great shows such as the Daily Ignoramus, the Breakdown with Breckenhoff, the R-Rated Conservative, the Freckles and Brick Show, and the Porch Boys, featuring tonight's guest, Seawall. So go and check that out. It is always a great time, and yeah, we're gonna have some great people over there. And if you do want to help us out in the interim, any donations, any subscriptions, any buy me a coffees that happen on these shows on anything with Contemporary from here on out will get donated into the Turn Some Pages coffers. I've got a separate coffer for that. Or if you want to join us on the GoFundMe, we are still sold out at the $500 for that. But we can come back out here. Apparently Colin Powell has just reported has died. I did see something like that, but I did not look into that. We will probably do that on tomorrow's show. But if you guys do want to come back out and help, you can go hit this GoFundMe right here. $1, a $5, anything else, anything you can toss in will help. Anything will help us get this up off the ground and help get our wonderful web developer paid. So go ahead and check that out, and any donations, any subscriptions, anything that you guys put into the Twitch or the Buy Me a Coffee or anything else like that will get that will also get transferred into the coffers for this, and I will cover all the fees. So when I transfer it out of my regular bank account, it will be the original amount, not the amount after PayPal or Buy Me a Coffee or whoever else takes their fees. So yeah, anything you guys put in will be matched. They'll be ready to go. So we really want to get this started. We want to get this going. So if you guys want to do that, any donations, anything will be helpful, and we will get this up off the ground. All right, let's get into the news. Starting with, let's get out of the news for this, our finance for the morning. On Friday, the Dow had an up day once again. Started off up, climbed up through there, kind of stalled out throughout the middle of everything here, closing out at 35,294.76, and it is just opening right now too. So we will see where all of this goes and where everything starts off trading for the day. Your Bitcoin, as of last night, was $62,068 US and 10 US cents. Getting a refresh, this is now to $60,811 US and 20 US cents. So a little bit of a drop overnight, but a significant rise once again over the weekend. Remembering that we were at 57,000 US dollars on Friday. So people are starting to, well, I guess they're starting to get into the point where they've got some disposable income that they're thinking of putting into Bitcoin, buying up some of this here. And it's not just the people, it's the companies, because they're the ones who are mostly carrying the Bitcoin. And in spite of the fact that many major players out there, like China's mining rigs, are walking away from the Bitcoin, it still has the volume to grow. So there's something going on good in the world economy. We will see where that goes from there. Your scrap metal prices as of this morning. No, I don't want to subscribe for price alerts. Fuck off. Everything is up over the weekend here. Copper is up to $3.47 a pound on the average. Steel is up to $1.81 a ton on average. And aluminum is up to 65 cents a pound on average. Looking at some of your individuals. Copper looks like that is up all the way around. Everything with copper in it is up. Everything with steel and iron appears to be up. Aluminum radiators look like those are going down, but it looks like everything else with aluminum is also on the up. On some of your smaller items here, electric motors are up, car batteries are down. Lead is up. Catalytic converters are all up. Compressors are down. Alternators are down. Which is weird because those are mostly made of aluminum and copper, and all of those are up. So, hey, if you take your alternator apart before you turn it in, you'll get more money than if you just take it in. But that's what we see coming off of that. Let's get into IBD for the morning here. Dow Jones futures fall as yields rise, Bitcoin ETF launching, Microsoft, Tesla rival XPeng are buys in market rally. This is from Ed Carson. I want the chat over on this side so I can see how many people are watching over on the Twitch. From Ed Carson, Dow Jones futures fell slightly Monday morning, along with S&P 500 futures and NASDAQ futures, as the 10-year Treasury yield again hit 1.6% and China's economy slowed. A Bitcoin futures ETF is set to launch with key earnings on tap this week. The stock market rally rose powerfully last week, moving back into a confirmed rally. That's a green light to investors to ramp up exposure again. But watch your speed and don't get distracted. Dow Jones giants Microsoft and Goldman Sachs offer early entries now. So does Tesla rival XPeng, with other Chinese EV makers rallying and Tesla stock continuing its steady ascent. Expedia is just below a breakout, while Old Dominion Freight Line is flirting with a traditional buy point. Key earnings include this week Tesla, Netflix, ASML. That is not ASMR. We can do some financial ASMR here, but it's not going to be that company. Chipotle Mexican, Nucor, CSX, and an advertisement to bring us back up to the top. They must have got turned on by my ASML. Nucor, CSX, and Snap, as well as some oil price services firms, airlines, and top-rated banks. Apple AAPL is expected to unveil a long-awaited updated MacBook Pro laptop with in-house chips at a Monday product event. Well, that's one way to get around your chip shortage, but I can't imagine, if they're not coming from Malaysia or Singapore, how expensive that's going to be. Meanwhile, Bitcoin surged to $62,858 on Friday, a 6-month high following a huge run over the past several weeks. Bitcoin price was below $61,000 after pausing over the weekend. ProShares indicated in a late Friday filing that its Bitcoin futures ETF will begin trading this week. It'll begin trading on Tuesday, the New York Times, a former newspaper, reported. The Securities and Exchange Commission hasn't formally approved the ProShares Bitcoin Strategy ETF. The SEC may never officially do so, but the BITO can begin trading if the SEC doesn't object. It'll be first of what will be likely be several Bitcoin futures ETFs, bringing the cryptocurrency even closer to ordinary investors. Grayscale reportedly is close to filing an application for a spot price for a Bitcoin ETF. Earlier this month, SEC Chairman Gary Gensler made it clear he was not considering a China-like ban on Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. Yeah, see, if you ban Bitcoin in a free country, people still trade it. It just gets much, much more expensive because then they have to start dodging the law in order to go back and trade it. It's kind of like moonshine in that sense. People paid more for it. People paid a lot of money for moonshine before, hey, we can go out to Walmart and get us that moonshine, which isn't really moonshine, by the way. We can run out well, yeah, that's all cool, but in order to get that moonshine, you're not transporting it in a massive shipment, in a big truck, with several pallets arriving everywhere else at a time. You're not transporting it that way. You're transporting it by a guy with a rear-wheel drive car and a death wish, driving through, usually hills of some sort, very fast, knowing full well that if he stops or gets stopped by a police officer, he's going to jail for what he has in his trunk. So yeah, if you make Bitcoin illegal, all you're going to do is drive the price up to it once again. In addition to Bitcoin, Ethereum and other cryptos have rebounded, so have Bitcoin-related stocks such as Marathon Digital Holdings, Coinbase, and Grayscale, Bitcoin Trust. Tesla still has Bitcoin holdings as well. MARA stock surged to 24% to $48.89 last week after a 19% spike in the prior week. On Friday, Marathon sprinted past its early September short-term high of $44.97. GBTC stock left 12% last week. Coin stock left 13%, breaking a trend line Friday after rebounding from its 50-day line on the day before. Microsoft and Tesla are on the IBD leaderboard. Goldman Sachs is on Swing Trader. Microsoft is IBD long-term leader. Expedia was Friday's IBD stock of the day. A lot of information here, and we're going to wait and see when the earnings drop and where the airlines go, where the oils go, and now that we've seen all the banks and how all the bankers got rich, then we're going to see now how everyone else is going to get much, much richer. Or poorer, depending on where the market goes. On your futures, Dow futures fell 0.3% versus fair value, S&P 500 futures lost 0.3%, and NASDAQ 100 futures declined 0.2%. The 10-year Treasury, holy shit! The 10-year Treasury yield climbed 2 points to 1.6%, but not at their pre-market highs. U.S. crude oil prices advanced more than 1% after hitting multi-year highs last week. Natural gas futures fell modestly. Copper edged higher after big gains last week. China's economy expanded 4.9% in the third quarter versus a year earlier. Economists expected GDP growth of 5.2% after quarter two 7.9%. September industrial production grew 3.1% year over year versus forecasts for 4.5%, and August 5.3% on the positive side. September retail sales picked up to 4.4% from 2.5% in August, and views for 3.3%. So China is growing at a rate faster than what the US typically grows. But we will see where the US grows as well. On your wow, I can talk this morning. Remember, overnight action in Dow futures and elsewhere doesn't necessarily translate into actual trading in the next regular stock market session. A lot of information here, a lot of stuff moving, a lot of stuff shaking. If your 401k depends on stocks, definitely go in and check and make sure everything is in a growth spot right now, because it does look like some stuff might be tumbling as we go forward. Let's grab one from CNBC and let's get into the big news of the morning. Dow futures shed 100 points as the investors await a big week of earnings from Pippa Stevens. U.S. futures slid early trading on Monday after the three major averages posted their best week in months amid a stronger than expected start to the earnings season. Futures contracts tied to the Dow Jones shed 105 points or 0.3%, S&P 500 lost 0.3%, NASDAQ lost 0.4%. A few things dented sentiment on Monday. Overnight China reported GDP that disappointed, coming in 4.9% annual growth in the third quarter. That was short of the 5.3% growth expected by economists polled by Reuters. Industrial production in China last month also fell short of expectations. And the 10-year Treasury yield climbed back above a 1.61% to start the week. Rising rates have caused some pressure in tech shares at times this year as investors rotate out of growth stocks and into more value-oriented names. Disney lost 1.6% in pre-market after Barclays downgraded the stock and predicted streaming subscriber growth will slow. Yeah, The Mandalorian is over, and not as many people care about the Marvel stuff as they try to say that they do. But the major averages are coming off a winning week due to strong earnings reports and results later this week that could change the tone back to bullish. If they follow the same trend, the Dow advanced to 382 points on Friday, ending the week with a 1.8% gain for its best week since June. The S&P 500 rose 1.82% last week for its best week since July, and the NASDAQ saw its best week since the end of August, with the tech-heavy index adding 2.18%. Now, none of this also minding the fact that all three indices lost about 5% over the month of September. We'll ignore that. But look, 2.18% up! Look! So far, 41 S&P 500 companies have reported third quarter results, with 80% of them topping EPS expectations, according to data from FactSet. Taking into account the companies that have already reported and estimates for the rest, third quarter profit growth will total about 30%, the third highest quarterly growth rate for the S&P 500 companies since 2010, according to FactSet. In addition, better than expected earnings from Goldman Sachs on Friday, positive economic data also boosted stocks. Retail sales rose 0.7% in September, and the Census Bureau said Friday, while economists surveyed by the Dow Jones were expecting a decline of 0.2%. Yeah, I'm thinking a lot of people are getting out and starting to replace some of the stuff that's broken. And I don't know if retail sales involves food either, but I'm sure that some of the people, some of the preppers especially, are running to the end of their prepared food, or their year plan that they had out there. Plus, just like me, I decided to go out and prepare yesterday, do some canning, get some stuff there. So we've got some base of stuff out there just in case the worst happens. And I still go out and get an extra can of beans and everything. But even if you don't count food, the lids, jars, and rings that I bought yesterday will all fall under retail, not food. So a few things to watch here as we go and as we come into what is expected to be a very, very cold winter. We will see what happens with that. All right, let's get into the big news of the day. Starting with WLFI.com. This is Channel 18 News from Fowler, apparently. I don't know where that is. Looks like it might be Indiana. I don't know. China denies testing a nuclear-capable hypersonic missile, says it was a spacecraft. From CNN's Beijing Bureau and Hannah Ritchie. China has denied a report that it tested nuclear-capable hypersonic missile in August, saying Monday that the test was instead a routine spacecraft experiment. The Financial Times reported Sunday that China tested a nuclear-capable hypersonic missile in August that circled the globe before speeding towards a target, demonstrating an advanced space capability that caught the U.S. intelligence by surprise. Really? Because they've been stealing our patents forever. You'd think that you would have known about this. The report cited unnamed sources briefed on the intelligence. When asked about the report at a regular press briefing on Monday, China's Ministry of Foreign Affairs spokesperson Zhao Lijian said the August test was a spacecraft, not a missile. This test was a routine spacecraft experiment to verify the reusable technology of spacecraft, which is of great significance for reducing the cost of spacecraft use. It will provide a convenient and cheap way for humans to use space peacefully. Many companies in the world have carried out similar experiments, Zhao said. He said that what separated the spacecraft before returning was the supporting equipment of the spacecraft, which was burned and disintegrated in the process of falling into the atmosphere and landed in the high seas. China will work together with other countries in the world to benefit mankind in the peaceful use of space, he said. Responding to the FT's report, Mike Gallagher, a Republican member of the House Armed Services Committee, said the alleged hypersonic missile test should serve as a call to action. Gallagher said America could lose the new Cold War with Communist China within the decade if the Biden admin sticks to its current complacent course. The U.S. is engaged in a race with China and Russia to develop the hypersonic weapons at a time of increased global tensions. Hypersonic missiles are designed to travel at such a high speed they can fly great distances and move quickly through heavily defended airspace to attack targets such as harbors, airfields, and other installations before they can be successfully shot down. Russia and China are both developing hypersonic weapons programs, and Russia claims to have successfully tested a missile. The U.S. is focusing on conventional hypersonic weapons that are based on ships, land, and air platforms. China first tested a hypersonic missile in 2014, and Russia in 2016. China's hypersonic glide vehicle, known as DFZF, has been tested at least 9 times since 2014, according to the Congressional Research Service, CRS. And this is from the CNN Wire. Now, why is this important? I don't know, but somebody's car alarm is going off. No, it's not. Why is this important? There are a few things to pay attention to with this. Now, first and foremost, if China has actually tested a hypersonic missile, it's time for everybody to be a little bit on edge. That's the worst case scenario, that China's actually done this and it's possibly nuclear tipped. Just the tip. That's all we can handle, is just the tip. But with that being said, there are other interests out there that are in league with this that would benefit greatly from China doing something like this. Whether it's true or not, or whether it's possible or not, if they can use this kind of thing to come out and have this conversation, there are a lot of people out there. There are a lot of defense contractors out there that benefit from this. Especially people who are set to receive some money from our fun little project that they have trying to push through the Senate and the House right now, the $3.5 trillion budget reconciliation that is stalled out on Senators Sinema and Manchin. So now, let's look at this for a second. Let's actually look at what's going on with this. We're sitting here, we're talking about the fact that, okay, China, oh my God, China, they've got a hypersonic missile that can't get shot down, that'll be nuclear tipped. What do we do? Oh my God, we better pass the infrastructure package, because we gotta have that money here to pay our defense contractors, because we've got to ramp up our spending to make sure that this happens, to make sure that we are the first ones that get this hypersonic missile that's nuclear tipped. You don't think that's gonna happen? You don't think they're going to come out and do something like that? And of course, we've also got the China sentiment, the patriotism. I know that if we're sitting in a situation where we're about to go into war, Americans will come together on some sort of patriotism, and they'll usually fall in line behind the current administration. I will keep my ears open for something like this. I will definitely keep my ears open to see if something like this is a reality, or if something like this is going to be something where this is just, okay, we come back and we talk about this, and we did find out that this was a lie to come out and try to spend more money on military, funding Raytheon, etc. I will definitely pay attention to something like this, but as of right now, I don't know. There are too many investment firms, and there are too many government agencies and three-letter agencies that stand to gain a lot of money off the infrastructure package, and the debt ceiling too, by the way. That's coming down the pipes as well. If we need to turn around and, oh my god, defend ourselves from China, the evil China. So, that's what we see coming off of that. I got another one from Insider, just talking about a little bit more off of this. China's new hypersonic missile demonstrated an advanced space capability that caught the U.S. intelligence by surprise, report says. From Aliyah Shawib. China demonstrated advanced space capability by testing a nuclear-capable hypersonic missile in August, the Financial Times reported, citing 5 sources familiar with the test. The hypersonic glide vehicle, launched by the Chinese military, circled the globe in low orbit before speeding towards its target, sources told the newspaper. Although the missile missed its target by about 24 miles, the test demonstrated China's advanced space capability and U.S. intelligence by surprise, sources told the Financial Times. Dude, 24 miles in a nuclear blast means you're probably still going to die. You know the old saying, close only counts in hand grenades and horseshoes? Well, I would posit that we can possibly add nuclear missiles to that list of things that close counts in. Because if you miss your target, but you get close, you're still going to cause chaos and destruction on your target, and within the 100-mile radius around your target. Although the missile missed its target by about 24 miles, the test demonstrated China's advanced space capability and took U.S. intelligence by surprise, sources told the Financial Times. The test showed that China made some astounding progress on hypersonic weapons and was far more advanced than the U.S. officials realized, 2 sources said, according to the paper. We have no idea how they did this, another source told the paper. Several countries, including the U.S., Russia, and China, are competing to develop hypersonic weapons. The missiles fly at low altitude trajectories at more than 5 times the speed of sound. Glide vehicles are a type of hypersonic weapon launched into space on a rocket built but orbit the Earth under their own momentum. Unlike ballistic missiles, they are maneuverable and do not follow a fixed trajectory, making them harder to track and defend against. In August, General Glenn Van Herk, head of North America's Aerospace Defense Command, said that China's advanced hypersonic capability would provide significant challenges to my NORAD capability to provide threats, warnings, and attack assessment, the Financial Times said. So, yeah, we're sitting in this situation. We don't know. I still don't know if I quite believe this. But maybe. Maybe we'll see. Maybe we'll all die from China. Or maybe somebody who likes to do art made an artwork of our missile technology and sold it for $500,000 to a totally legitimate investor with some Chinese heritage. Maybe. Who knows? I guess we'll see. But that's something to sit back and watch. Alright, shifting gears here, another one that was breaking late last night. Assistant to House Surgeon at Arms charged with possession of child porn, from Sarah Fortinsky. Now, this is not something that I necessarily care that much about. This story in and of itself, I mean, obviously get this guy off the street and into your closest wood chipper at your earliest convenience. But as far as this goes, well, let's read into this just a little bit, and I'll tell you why this actually bothers me a little bit. From Sarah Fortinsky. An assistant to the U.S. House of Representatives Surgeon at Arms has been arrested and charged with 10 felony counts related to the possession of child porn, according to court records filed on Wednesday. Stefan Buret is allegedly the owner of a Dropbox account that contained images of child sexual abuse material, according to the news release from police in Fairfax County, Virginia. The news release also said that multiple search warrants led police to determine Buret was the owner of the account. Detectives executed a search warrant Wednesday on Buret's home in Fairfax County and recovered multiple electronics, the news release also stated. Legistorm, a database that tracks congressional employment records, shows Buret has been employed by the House Surgeon of Arms dating back to 2004. Buret, his attorney, and the Surgeon at Arms did not immediately respond to CNN's individual requests for comment. Buret also briefly worked for the U.S. Capitol Police as a civilian in the Security Services Bureau front office, USCP confirmed to CNN. He came from the House Surgeon at Arms office to work for USCP from April 2019 to September of 2020, before returning to the House's law enforcement office, according to the USCP. USCP added that it would assist Fairfax County detectives should they need anything. So, this bothers me a little bit. In addition to the kitty diddling shit, this is a guy who is very, very closely connected to both agencies that had jurisdiction during the January 6th riots. And they usually don't put this stuff out public, especially when it's somebody from in the government. They usually kind of shuffle that under, especially, now, if it came from Breaking 911 or the Daily Wire or the Blaze or something like that, and they were the only ones that were covering it, I would have less problem with this. And I probably wouldn't have even covered it at that point. I would have probably just ignored this and said, what the fuck ever. Throw him in your nearest wood chipper at your earliest convenience and get on with your day. Because he's a pedophile. He's from the government and he's a pedophile. But the fact of where this guy worked and the fact that CNN is covering it, that gives me a few questions. Because, I mean, we see other people out there, too. People who don't play ball, who wind up dead, who wind up ruined, who wind up this, that, and the next thing. And we have so many questions about the Justice for J6 rally, the Capitol Selfie Fest, and anything else like that. And yeah, these government outlets, the CNNs and whatnot, they protect their own. Very viciously, in fact. So I don't know how much of this I actually buy. And I don't know how much of this is actually a setup for somebody who didn't play ball. I'm curious about this. But this is all the information that we have right now. So, and we'll see if this either blows up and gets everywhere, or if this gets swept under the rug. We will watch and see where that goes. Alright, we are actually going to watch a video here for a few minutes. A couple minutes at least. This is from Politico. The U.S. is about $29 trillion in debt. Here's where the debt ceiling fight stands in Congress and what's next, and how it could affect everyday Americans. This is from our Budget and Appropriations reporter, J.A. Schultes, explaining what this could mean. So let's have a listen to what Schultes has to say, I should say.
The United States has $28 trillion in debt. Actually, we have over $28 trillion, and Congress just raised the debt limit. So it's about $29 trillion now. The debt limit was waived until the end of July. And then that's when you started to hear about the debt limit again. You started to hear both parties dig in with their various ultimatums. The Republicans, led by Mitch McConnell in the Senate, saying, no way are we going to help you. The Democrats saying, this is America's debt. You helped cause this debt. You just controlled the White House. You just controlled the Senate. You spent the money and gave the tax breaks that drove up the debt. Now you're going to help us. December 3rd is a really important date because that is the date that also we have another government shutdown deadline. So if you're breathing a sigh of relief that the debt limit has been remedied this week by Congress, you can only feel relief for about 7 weeks, because once again, the fiscal cliffs will be right up in our face, and there's no real path yet to handling that, and the same arguments and the same ultimatums still stand. They have just punted once again a little farther down the road. You punt into December 3rd, and then we might see ourselves, December 3rd, there's no deal. At the very last minute, Congress decides we're going to maybe punt to December 13th or Christmas Eve. Even getting up close to the deadline with a lot of brinksmanship can result in the U.S. credit rating getting downgraded. We saw this during the Obama administration. The U.S. credit rating was actually downgraded for the first time in U.S. history when Republicans in the Senate said they weren't going to touch the debt limit without some kind of spending constraints. Just the strife spooked investors enough that it downgraded the U.S. credit rating and hit the stock market. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen has been warning in recent weeks and months that both parties go head to head on this, that could happen again. For the average American, that's not just something that's going to affect the...
So, that's enough of it. Does this chick watch my show, by the way? Because I distinctly remember saying many of the same things that she just said off of this, that this is just a fun... The first thing I want to address out of this video, the first thing that I want to address out of this is, if you are breathing a sigh of relief because we can go back out and borrow more money, you are a moron. Back in the 90s... when I was a kid, when I was first starting to learn about government and first starting to hear about the national debt and understand somewhat of what it means, which of course all the MMT people come back out and tell me, oh, you don't even know what the national debt is. You don't understand it. And you don't understand what MMT means. We could just print and get out of our national debt. Sure, Jan. But I mean, if you are breathing a sigh of relief because we can go back and borrow more money against our grandchildren's future, you are A, part of the problem, and B, a fucking moron. I'm not even going to apologize for saying that. You are dumb if you think that this is the way that we should be going and the route that we should be going with this. You have dumb. But yes, this is going to be the next thing, and this was just a kick the fucking can down the road. I told you guys about this 2 weeks ago when we first started to say, oh, well, this is going to go down to December 3rd or whatever the fuck it is. Yeah, December 3rd. Yeah, we're going to have this exact same conversation. And we talked about this a few months ago. Ariadna, my favorite progressive, over on Twitter. One of the few ones that we have actually had common ground with out there. My favorite Twitter progressive out there. Oh, well, Politico, it's just right-wing trash because they run so many hit pieces on Joe Biden. Does this Politico writer that we just listened to, does she sound like she's right-wing? No. This was another excuse to come back out and say, McConnell, Republicans, bad. Everybody bad. Everybody who isn't a progressive, bad. So yes, we will be having this conversation again in about 7 weeks, as she said. And prepare for that, because you think Schumer is actually going to work up a way to make this happen? To make the debt ceiling happen under reconciliation? No. He's going to hold the line to this. He's going to say, you know what, Mitch McConnell? No, we didn't do this on a reconciliation here because we need to have your support to do this. And we're going to blame you if we don't get what we want, which is an unlimited debt ceiling forever. You watch, it's going to happen. And then up until 2 days before this is about to happen, Mitch McConnell will come on and say, oh, no, if you want to borrow the money, you've got the tools to do so, then do so. And then about 2 days before the limit is up, he'll come on and say, oh my God, my investments are going to be going away. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? The Instagram video is over at this point, so let me grab that up off of here, and let's throw some music up and let's keep going. Music. Not monitor. Music. Dumbass. Alright. Let's keep going. Let's go on here and take one from our friends over at NPR. Democrats seek a middle ground on Biden's plans without gutting them. From Kelsey Snell. I'm sure that there is no middle ground without gutting pieces out of this, but I'm sure NPR is going to tell us what we are supposed to think, like good little lemmings. So we'll take a second and listen to what we are supposed to think from our friends over at National Progressive Radio, and we will donate, because thinking is hard, and they make it easy for us because they do the thinking for us. So make sure you hit that big red donate button, because your tax dollars are not enough for them. They need more to buy their microphones and spread their ideals, communist or not, throughout the world. NPR, National Progressive Radio. Let's see what they have to say. Democrats in Congress are attempting a seemingly impossible feat, trimming $1 trillion or more from their plan for passing much of President Biden's agenda without undermining the policies they promised to voters. Democrats say they want this spending package to address huge economic challenges such as education, childcare, climate change, and poverty. But for a bill to pass, they need to keep the price down to satisfy the demands from centrists like Manchin, who has called for the bill to be capped at $1.5 trillion while keeping progressives satisfied with the scope of the bill. Hey, does anybody have any popcorn? The chairman of the Congressional Progressive Caucus, Rep. Pramila Jayapal of Washington, has insisted that leaders cut the size by forcing lawmakers to decide between priorities. We're not going to pit childcare against climate change, Jayapal told reporters on a recent teleconference. We're not going to pit housing against paid leave. We're not going to pit seniors against young people. Why not? You do that all the rest of the time. Especially through your mouthpieces like CNN and MSDNC. That leaves top lawmakers and staff working behind closed doors to make trims that can satisfy everybody. But it isn't an easy task. In many cases, simple changes like narrowing who is eligible for a program can trim the price tag, but not without shifting the impact of the program. One of the clear examples of the trade-off is the plan to make the expanded child tax credit permanent. Democrats temporarily expanded the child credit as part of the $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan. The policy, which lasts through the end of the year, was intended to lift families out of poverty and replace dependent tax credits that were changed under President Trump's 2017 tax overhaul. Democrats expanded the credit, which has been in effect since July, to reach lower-income families that had previously been excluded, increasing the amount of the credit and turn the annual credit into a monthly payment. Now parents receive as much as $300 per child per month. Right, because your lower income families don't pay almost anything in taxes, if they do pay anything at all in taxes. That's the thing you have to come back and remember. Now these people are getting cash out of the government. It's a welfare program for them. Meanwhile, those of you in the middle class, like my friend Shilaga, who has talked about this, are going to get whacked when it comes to the end of the year, when they're expecting, look at all this money I'm going to be having coming back from the government because I overpaid in my taxes. Look at all this money coming back. Where's all my money? Why am I not getting a huge refund like I normally do? Chuck Marr, Senior Director of Federal Tax Policy at the left-leaning Center on Budget and Policy Priorities, illustrated how the program works for low-income single mother with a toddler and a second grader. Oh, this will be interesting. Because this is, I mean, you're saying the quiet part out loud here. Oh no, we're doing this to make sure that our fatherless families here are incentivized to continue to popping out kids. Before, she was getting about $600 per child per year, he said. After the increase, she's getting about $3,000 for the second grader, $3,600 for the toddler, an increase of $5,000 income, a potential game changer for those kids. Okay, what happens in February when the check comes in? Well, sitting where she's at right now and spending the money that's out there, I would say that she actually probably maybe have gotten a $200 to $300 tax refund as it was, unless she was solidly in the middle class. But yeah, a lot of this does reek of the fact that, and we've been saying this for years, the government is trying to become daddy for a long time. Let the single mothers be out there. They don't need no man. They are strong, independent women. With the government out there caring for half their kids. No father in the house. And this, honestly, this sounds like an incentivization for that. And, I mean, there are other programs that go along with this, and yeah, now they're going to come back out and try to spend $1.5 trillion instead of $3.5 trillion off of this. Why don't you just not spend anything? I do agree with expand the child tax credit. I would rather it does come back at the end of the year as per usual, because then people will see where the difference is and how much they overpaid instead of just getting that monthly check every month. I would way prefer. But I like the idea of the government going out and incentivizing. If they have to have taxes, which I don't agree with that, but if they have to have taxes, then use some of those to incentivize the next generation for people to reproduce, because we need a next generation. Our birth rates are falling in this country. And that's the easiest way to start to fix the economy and start to fix some of the other problems. Go out and have a bunch of kids. I'm trying. Obviously not very hard because I'm still growing my hair long, but I'm trying to go out there, have a bunch of kids. It's the same like with these idiot fucking ethno-nats out there. Oh, what are we gonna do? They're trying to replace us. They're trying to replace the white race. Okay, go out and have a couple more white kids. Problem solved. Well, not solved, but problem averted. If you're that concerned about it, go knock your toothless cousin up, because if you're in that ethno-nat camp, you're likely, sorry to say, but you likely enjoy the company of your cousin. Let's put it that way. But yeah, go out and have a couple more white kids if you're that concerned about it. But that's what we see coming up of that. From The Hill. This was a really heavy episode today, too. Biden to re-implement Trump's Remain in Mexico in November. From Rebecca Beach. The Biden admin told the courts late Thursday that it plans to re-implement the Trump-era Remain in Mexico policy in mid-November if it can get buy-in from the neighboring government. The move comes after an initial victory by Texas and Missouri in a suit that argued that Biden admin too hastily withdrew the policy under which the U.S. transported 70,000 asylum seekers to Mexico to await a determination in their case. DHS has appealed the case and is working on a memo to rescind the program anew, but it is still required to implement what was formerly termed the Migrant Protection Protocols in good faith. The announcement follows a series of meetings with high-level officials from the Mexican government. Mexico is a sovereign nation, and that must make an independent decision to accept the return of individuals without the status in Mexico as part of any re-implementation of MPP. Discussions with the government of Mexico are concerning when and how MPP will be implemented are ongoing, DHS said in a statement on Thursday. In the court filing, the government writes that Mexico has made clear that it has concerns about the aspects of how the MPP was previously implemented, taking pains to stress how much of the program's future implementation relies on securing Mexico's blessing. In a call on Thursday, DHS told multiple outlets that it would seek to curb some of the effects of the program as implemented under the Trump admin, which saw many migrants simply give up on their cases after lengthy waits in the dangerous refugee camps along the border. DHS officials said it has general commitment to deciding new asylum cases within 6 months and plans to construct tent courts near Laredo and Brownsville, Texas. It also plans to expand the types of asylum seekers who will not be subjected to MPP, but the filing doesn't provide details on who that would include, such as families with children. Mexico has argued that the sick, elderly, as well as those in the LGBT community should be exempt from MPP because they don't want them in Mexico. That's obvious. We can figure out why they want that. That's a strategy for them. No, we want the young, healthy workers to come over here to Mexico and remain in Mexico, because we can lure them with a job to come in and be a part of our Mexican culture and economy. So, yeah, no, papi, no. Leave our strong, healthy working men for that. But you have all the women and children. You have all those, and all the sick people, and all the gay people. You can have all those people. We'll keep the strong ones, the ones who are out there, who are work and form our economy. The implementation is a blow to the White House, which suspended the policy on Inauguration Day, as well as advocates that fought to end the policy under the Trump administration. Advocates have long argued the program is an unacceptable barrier to those seeking asylum in the U.S. Well, if they're seeking asylum, unless they're under some sort of political pressure from Mexico itself, why not stay in Mexico? I mean, it's closer. And as I normally point out the fact, just like I said with the Afghan refugees and going to Qatar rather than coming here, it's probably a lot closer to the culture that you're leaving, the culture that your family is from, the culture you were raised in, than coming to the U.S. and trying to implement into our mishmash of culture that we have over here. Another mostly Central American country that mostly speaks the language that the majority of the people that are coming up grew up speaking. Now, I understand the Haitians are a different story because they grew up speaking French, but when we're talking about Central Triangle stuff like that, Northern Triangle countries out of Central America, they mostly speak Spanish. That's the predominant language in Mexico, is Spanish. So the country already speaks the language, already has a somewhat similar culture to the Central American countries that you left. Similar ties. Why not stay in Mexico? Why does your asylum have to be in the U.S.? I don't understand that. It's like I said, it's the same thing with the Afghan refugees in Qatar. Why are you so gung-ho to get to the U.S.? Qatar, being in the Middle East, is closer to your family, closer to the relatives you're leaving behind, in case you ever want to see them again. And it has a culture that's similar to your own, which means that the child brides thing wouldn't happen under Qatari law. You'd be perfectly acceptable over there. Many of your same Muslim practices would be much the same. You'd be that much closer to Mecca. But no, you've got to come over here. So, that's what we'll see coming off of that. From the Daily Wire. Fauci on why critics do not like him. They have conspiracy theories. They deny reality. From the Daily Wire News. The patron saint of medicine, St. Anthony of Fauci, director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases and chief medical advisor to President Biden, claimed on Sunday that critics do not like him because those critics deny reality. Fauci made the remarks during a Fox News interview with anchor Chris Wallace, who noted that, "When the pandemic started, I think that's fair to say that you are generally regarded as the authority on infectious disease. Please like me, Dr. Fauci, please, please, please. But as time has gone on, you have become a polarizing figure. Critics accuse you of sending mixed messages," Wallace continued. "There's allegations that you helped fund the dangerous research at the Wuhan lab. Why do you think you've become so controversial?" Wallace asked. "And honestly, do you think there's anything that you have done that has contributed to that?" Let's not do a Fauci impression for this. Let's actually listen to the patron saint of medicine. Let's hear what he has to say on why they don't like him.
Finally, when this pandemic started, I think it's fair to say you were generally regarded as the authority on infectious disease. But as time has gone on, you have become a polarizing figure. Critics accuse you of sending mixed messages. There's allegations that you help fund dangerous research at the Wuhan lab. Two questions. Why do you think you've become so controversial? And honestly, do you think there's anything you have done that has contributed to that?
Well, I'm not so sure I could answer the latter because I can't think of anything, but I'm sure some people will. But, you know, Chris, I have stood for always making science, data, and evidence be what we guide ourselves by. And I think people who feel differently, who have conspiracy theories, who deny reality that's looking them straight in the eye, those are people that don't particularly care for me. And that's understandable, because what I do, and I try very hard, is to be guided by the truth. And sometimes the truth becomes inconvenient for some people, so they react against me. That just is what it is. There's not much I can do about that, Chris.
They don't like me. I gotta get in the Fauci voice again. They don't like me because they deny reality. When I'm the number one top disease person and they're not. So you have to listen to what I have to say. You can't deny what I have to say because my words are reality and they're denying reality. No, we don't like you because you were wrong on the AIDS pandemic and you're wrong on this one. And yet you still have people that come back out and prop you back up. And you're kind of an asshole too. That's why we don't like you. Alright, what else do we have here? From Fox 6, getting in doing some vaccine stuff. From Fox 6 Milwaukee, U.S. Navy set to boot sailors who refuse the Pinko-Pox vaccine. From Breck Dumas. The U.S. Navy announced Thursday that it's preparing to discharge sailors who refuse the vaccine for the Pinko-Pox as mandated by the Pentagon, and the service members who got the boot over their noncompliance run the risk of losing some veterans' benefits. The Navy sent out a press release noting that November 14th is the deadline for active duty sailors to either get their second shot of a 2-dose vaccine or the single shot of a 1-dose vaccine. Reservists have until December 14th. Sailors who do not have a pending or approved exemption by the deadlines set will face administrative actions, and those separated only for vaccine refusal will receive no lower than a general discharge under honorable conditions, the Navy statement read, adding, "This type of discharge should result in the loss of some veterans' benefits." The Navy said it may also seek a recoupment of applicable bonuses, special and incentive pays, the cost of training and education for service members refusing the vaccine. That's where we need to pay attention to. Sailors must be prepared to execute their mission at all times in places throughout the world, including where vaccination rates are low and disease transmission is high, the Navy stated. Immunizations are of paramount importance to protecting the health of the force and the warfighting readiness of the fleet. The Navy says 98% of its active duty members are already vaccinated against the coronavirus. The DoD announced in late August that all members of the armed forces must get vaccinated against COVID-19 just days before the FDA granted full approval for the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine. President Biden has mandated that all federal employees are to be fully vaccinated by November 22nd and that all federal contractors have a fully vaccinated workforce by December 8th. He's also directed OSHA to issue a forthcoming regulation ordering all U.S. businesses with more than 100 employees to require their workers to get either vaccinated or submit to weekly coronavirus tests. So that's what we see coming from this. The problem that I have with this is not the fact that they're going to get booted. I don't care about that, and I don't know enough about military to know. This is a standard practice. If you get an honorable or dishonorable discharge, is that you're responsible for paying for the training and your bonuses through that. Is that actually a thing? If that's a thing, then, I mean, this is business as usual, of course. But if you're going to boot these people out, and now you have expecting them to come up with, and I'm sure under no bid contracts, this is not a small sum either, tens, maybe hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of training fees, costs, and bonuses, you're making, I mean, some of these people are looking out there saying, okay, well, I didn't really want to be in the Army this much anyway. Now this is a good way for me to get back out, is to go back and, you know, not get the jab. And, oh no, now I can't come and be in the Army, be in the Navy, be in the this, be in the that, be in the whatever. So I have questions about how this goes and what this means and whether or not this is a standard practice or not to have them do this. I have a lot of questions about that. Speaking on this, Tyler Cardone, who has a blue check, and I don't know why. Apparently he's the CEO of Blaze Media, which is weird because I thought that was Glenn Beck. If Navy service members don't get vaxxed by the deadline, the Navy may seek recoupment of applicable bonuses, special and incentive pays, and the cost of training and education for service members refusing the vaccine. And there it is. This is from mynavyhr.navy.mil, Disposition Authority. This is going to be in Section 7A, 7B. The Vice Chief of Naval Operations retains the authority for non-judicial punishment and courts-martial. Involuntary extension of enlistments is not authorized on the basis of administrative or disciplinary actions for vaccination refusal. The CCDA may seek recoupment of applicable bonuses, special and incentive pays, and the cost of training and education for service members refusing the vaccine. Now, as we've talked about on numerous occasions on this program, and many of our military members in the chat have, thank you by the way, pointed out the fact that, you know, they don't usually tell you what they're jabbing you with. And sometimes it could be something that's highly experimental. You sign the contract, you sign your body over to the government on contract, and they're either going to send you out to the field to get shot at, or they're going to send you down there, line you up down the hall, tell you to drop your pants and shove a needle up your fucking ass. This is not new for the military. So I don't know, I'm a little bit curious as to why this vaccine is causing so much controversy with them, because that should be the one that's expected. It's the military. I don't like it, by the way. I don't like the fact that they're also going out and jamming all these chemicals and drugs into these sailors, soldiers, or Marines without informed consent as to what it is, or what it's supposed to do, or whether or not it's experiment. I advocate for the fact that they change their policy and they at least give informed consent to these people as to what they're fucking sticking them with. But I know that it's nothing new from the military either. But it's the fact that they're seeking out the recoupment of bonuses off of this thing. They're trying to make a financial hit to this. And yeah, I mean, with no bid contracts, like I said, this could be into the hundreds of thousands of dollars that you're responsible for to the U.S. government. Alright, but that's what we see coming out of that. Some more government stuff here. The TSA says 40% of workforce unvaccinated ahead of November deadline, from Joseph Choi. A Transportation Security Administration official said in an interview published on Wednesday that 40% of the TSA's workforce remains unvaccinated ahead of a November 22nd deadline set by the Biden admin. Speaking to CNN, TSA Administrator David Pekoski said he was very hopeful that this agency's employees would meet the deadline, but said that contingency plans were in development in case some employees were unable to work who were not vaccinated at the time. We have about 60% of our workforce that has been vaccinated. That number needs to go quite a bit higher over the next few weeks, Pekoski told CNN. We're building contingency plans for if we do have some staffing shortages as a result of this, but I hope to avoid that. CNN reported that Pekoski has been holding down town hall meetings in an effort to encourage more employees to get vaccinated. Hold the line, TSA people. Make them shut TSA down. even though I don't really go on the airplane anymore, I would like to go in there and get groped by another decent-looking TSA agent. Or maybe a non-decent-looking one. You don't get to be picky, but you do get to have fun with them. The Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine is administered 3 weeks apart, leaving workers a bit of leeway unless they decide to instead get the one-dose Johnson & Johnson COVID vaccine. CNN noted, the latest possible date that federal employees can get the Pfizer vaccine is October 18th. In a memo sent out earlier this month, the U.S. Office of Personnel Management said federal agencies could begin enforcing the vaccine mandate beginning on November 9th for employees who are still not vaccinated. Yes, they legally can do this, that's correct. But can they do so on a personnel basis? Can they afford to lose that many people that quickly? That's going to be the question. That's kind of where I'm waiting to see how this goes. I'm waiting to see chaos off of this. I really am. I want to see how they go to do this, whether they take some of these college-educated baristas up out of the workforce and put them to work on the TSA in the gropey dope, or whether they just cut operations, or, hey, let's get rid of the TSA altogether. I don't know. I guess they suck at their job anyway. But that's where we go. From Insider, boomerang employees who quit during the pandemic are starting to ask for their old jobs back. From Aki Ito, as the Great Resignation continues to barrel through the U.S. economy, chances are you know at least a few people who have left your company since the pandemic began. On Tuesday, the Bureau of Labor Statistics said 4.3 million Americans quit their jobs in August alone, surpassing the previous record set only a month earlier. But before you hold yet another farewell party for a departed colleague, consider this. Some of your former coworkers will likely return soon as boomerang employees. That's according to Anthony Klotz, a professor of management at the Texas A&M who studies how people quit their jobs. Klotz predicted the surge of quitters back in May before it had shown up in any of the macroeconomic data, and coined the now ubiquitous term, the Great Resignation. So I was interested to hear what he's expecting to see next. But when I called him up after the new job numbers came out on Tuesday, we ended up talking about another prediction he made last spring, that many people who quit their jobs will wind up returning to their old employers. As he told Bloomberg at the time, we're going to see a lot of boomerang employees who a year from now miss their jobs and decide that their novel isn't going as well as expected. It's going to be those ones. Klotz is already starting to see the boomerang effect in action. He told me that one employee who decided to leave her job in the spring, even though her employer offered to let her take leave of absence, after a few months off, she realized she missed her team and decided to go back to her old company. In today's tight labor market, her ex-employer welcomed her home with open arms. It used to be rare for employers to rehire quitters. In corporate America, leaving is often seen as a sign of disloyalty. Most companies still see it as a kind of betrayal, Klotz said, especially if you're staying in the same industry, and especially if you're going to work for a competitor. But now Klotz is urging communities to embrace their ex-employees as a pool for future staff. Selecting employees is really, really hard to do, he told me, and no one's that good at it, because I can't see whether you're going to be a good worker or not. With boomerang employees, I've seen you work, so the risk of the selection process goes way down. The government doesn't track how many people get rehired by their old employers, so it's hard to say how widespread the boomerang phenomenon has been in recent months. Phenomenon! But Klotz's hypothesis intrigued me for several reasons. One is that burnout is a major driver of the current wave of resignations. While Leibt, an employee experience platform, surveyed 1,000 people who switched jobs this year, they cited burnout as the top reason for leaving their old job, but sometimes the cure for burnout isn't a new job, it's just rest. Some employees who felt depleted by the long hours and stress of the pandemic may find themselves perfectly happy to go back to their old employer after some extended time off to recharge. Klotz said that more employers are starting to offer sabbaticals for this very reason. It's better to lose top performers for a few months rather than forever. So, a lot of this is not what Mr. Klotz is saying. A lot of this is, like they said, people looking at this, people who are, and a lot of this is not necessarily the big office workers, the upper middle class. Because a lot of them had the opportunity to work from home for this, especially if you're doing a menial data entry job, secretarial work, or something like that, where you don't necessarily need to be on site. If I'm not mistaken, the lady that does paperwork at my job does some of her work from home. If I'm not mistaken, I believe that is the case. I don't know because I don't work in management. They tried to groom me for management, and I told them that if they ever made me a manager, they would get about 20 minutes notice before I didn't work for the company anymore. But as far as this goes, a lot of this is of people in the barista shop, the restaurant job, who walked away saying, oh crap, I can make so much money off of this. I can make so much more off this unemployment. Or I'm scared of the coop. I've got to go away. But, now the unemployment's running out. Hey, I kind of need that job back. And we're in a labor market, like Klotz said. He was right off of this part. Where you know the person, you know how they work. And you are desperate and hard up for employees. Yeah, they're going to take them back. And I think some of this the other part of this is there are people out there who believe that in this market, that they are extensively qualified for a job. This great job that they can go out and have and do all the time. They're extensively qualified for this. Then they get out, realize they don't know shit about the new job. And then they're stuck. Their employer can't let them go because they need a warm body there, but this person is in over his head and doesn't know what the fuck to do. It's not always about going, and my novel is going great, you guys. It's not always about that. That was a disingenuous statement by Insider. That was a very disingenuous statement. Alright, let's keep going here from the Hill. Seattle Public Schools suspending nearly 150 bus routes due to driver shortage and vaccine mandate. From Lexi Lonis. Seattle Public Schools are suspending almost 150 bus routes due to a driver shortage in the country, and some not abiding by the state's vaccine mandate. There will be 142 bus routes suspended starting Monday due to a nationwide driver shortage and a shortage of drivers expected after the October 18th vaccine mandate deadline, SBS said in a statement. District spokesperson Tim Robinson says more than 6,700 students out of 18,000 could be affected by the cuts. It is unknown exactly how many kids will be affected since the number who ride the bus changes every day. The cuts won't affect students experiencing homelessness, foster students, special needs students, and areas with high proportions of historically underserved students. It's our hope that the staffing shortages faced by First Student will be resolved quickly as possible so we can resume and improve upon all bus service, said SPS Assistant Superintendent of Operations Fred Podesta. In the meantime, we are actively looking for alternative solutions to this challenge, such as the expanded provisions of Orca Transit passes for middle school students and other modes of transportation. Podesta added, yeah, see, and I don't understand why this is a thing. And this, of course, comes from me living in Kenosha. Now, out here, where I live now in Redacted, we have the situation where, yes, for the most part, the school bus comes out and gets all the kids. I think, for the most part, in town, the kids walk to school. It's a small town. They can get there. Maybe some of the outskirts ones will get on a bus or something, like some of the further reaches. But I think, for the most part, just the way this town is laid out, I think for the most part they walk to school. They get a ride to school from mom and dad. I don't think that there's a lot of bus service in town. Just from what I've observed around town. From living here for 3 years. But like in Kenosha, that's a different story because, you know, if you're coming just in the district of one of the 3 big high schools, you're either driving or you're getting a ride from somebody or taking the city bus because you're a good 3 to 5 miles away from school, maybe further. Depending on what district you're in and what part of town you live in, and whether or not, you're in, well, whether you're in Summers or Pleasant Prairie, but still going to Bradford or Tremper, respectively. You could be up to 10 miles away from school, and it's not feasible for everybody to walk to school in most of the Kenosha districts. Now, as far as all this goes, as far as everything else works off with that, you know, I think they start for middle school, but it might be high school as well. Where the city bus, they get on the city bus, all the city routes go to the high school in the morning. So they get on there, they wait on at the bus stop for the city bus, and then they get on with all the rest of the people who ride the city bus. That's how they do that for that. As far as the younger kids, yeah, they'll do a bus service in town, and I believe it is First Student that does that, which there's a shortage that would go with that. But, I mean, if it really went to it, most parents don't put their kids on the school bus in the cities anyway, or at least that city. Most of them will still just go back and drive their kids to school. You know, the office job, they've got to go by the office job to do anything else anyway. So, I don't know if there's a way that the city of Seattle can come back and contract with the city bus, if they can contract with something else like that, or anything else to go on with that. But, you know, they've got the alternatives in there. And yeah, it looks like they're going with the Orca Transit passes, but I don't advocate for using government, but you guys have options with infrastructure you already have in place. Or you could just relax the mandate and let people go about their business and have their fucking jobs back. You know, there's that aspect of it too. Alright, let's keep going. From Archive.today, archived from the USA Today, ESPN reporter Allison Williams leaving the network due to vaccine mandate. By the way, I usually don't do questions in chat, but I'll take this one because I'm kind of in the same place. If I'm economically right-wing but culturally left-wing, what am I? You're you. You're politically homeless. You don't have to fit into a box. Just be you. Believe what you believe and work it into whatever it is that you do. You don't have to fit into a label. You don't. There's no law that says I have to be a Republican, or I have to be a Democrat, or I have to be a Libertarian. There's no law for that. You don't need that stuff, man. Or lady, I don't know who you are, but I don't know which one you are, but you don't need that kind of stuff. To quote a great thinker of our time, come on, man! Alright, let's get back into the news here. From the USA Today, ESPN reporter Allison Williams leaving network due to vaccine mandate. From Steve Gardner. Veteran reporter Allison Williams has decided to leave ESPN rather than comply with the network's mandate that all employees are vaccinated against the pinko fucking pox. Williams announced last month that for the first time in 15 years, she would not be on the sidelines during ESPN's college football broadcast because she had declined the vaccine. The network made vaccinations mandatory for staffers at live events at the beginning of August, then expanded to all employees this month. Then on Friday, she posted a 5-minute video to Instagram to explain her decision, saying that she's so morally and ethically not aligned with this that she and her husband are looking to have another child. I guess she's got a video on her Instagram. Can we possibly find that? Give me just a sec. We'll do some on-air production. Sun W _ ESPN. Let's see if that just comes up like that. Yes, it looks like the video is right up on the top. Let's listen to some of what she had to say. By the way, follow me on Instagram, JEdgar102. Volume.
Releasing the statement I put out. So I know I've been a bit mum since releasing the statement I put out a few months ago now regarding my decision to not receive the COVID-19 vaccine. I just want to give everybody an update on my situation with ESPN. And a great producer once told me, don't bury the lead. So I have been denied my request for accommodation by ESPN and the Walt Disney Company, and effective next week, I will be separated from the company. First of all, thank you, everyone who reached out and texted, emailed, called, messaged me. I can't tell you how much light it brought in a really dark and difficult time. And I've also had a lot of people, and women in particular, reach out and share their stories in regards to fertility and getting the injection. And to the women who got it and have had and are having successful pregnancies and have babies in their arms, I'm beyond thrilled for you. Congratulations, that's amazing and terrific, and I believe you. To the women who have reached out and shared their experiences of getting the injection and subsequent miscarriages, menstrual irregularities, periods after menopause, I am so sorry that that is your experience. And I pray for you, and I believe you. Belief is a word I've been thinking about a lot lately, because in addition to the medical apprehensions regarding my desire to have another child in regards to receiving this injection, I am also so morally and ethically not aligned with this. And I've had to really dig deep and analyze my values and my morals. And ultimately, I need to put them first. And the irony in all this is that a lot of those same values and principles I hold so dear are what made me a really good employee and probably helped with the success that I've been able to have in my career. And it wasn't that long ago that those values, were aligned with the Walt Disney Company. In April, they sent out an email to all cast members, as they call employees, saying that they believed the vaccine was the best way forward, but ultimately that the decision to get it was a personal decision. Their values have clearly changed. I understand that. I know, I don't know what it's like to run a multi-billion-dollar company and to have shareholders and board members and financial quotas to answer to, and not to mention societal and I'm sure political pressures. So I respect that their values have changed. I had hoped they would respect that mine did not. And ultimately, I cannot put a paycheck over principle. And I will not sacrifice something that I believe and hold so strongly to maintain a career. A lot of people have brought up the moral obligation receiving the vaccine is to being a good citizen. And I weighed that and I thought about the implications. We all want to be good neighbors. We all want to end this pandemic, but ultimately,
Okay, so there's a lot to go with on that, and I am glad that I found this video here to talk about this. Now, this woman is out at ESPN, so there is that aspect to this. Looking in then at what it is that she has to say. First and foremost, I know she's blue checked, and I know that it's probably going to be a pipe dream, but I'm going to reach out to this woman, see if she wants to help with the startup, because this is the kind of person that I want to have on my staff. She might be a little bit more leftoid than I would like to see, but honestly, the fact that she put her principles and her family above what the government says, this is the kind of person I want on terms of Patriot Productions. So I'm going to work on that. I don't think I'm going to get anywhere, but I am going to work on that. Because man, oh man, that would be a get. To have this woman as a staff writer, or a podcast host for that matter, to work with us. I would do some big things with us, I think, but, you know, let's not get ahead of ourselves off of this. As far as what she did, I mean, yeah, this is what you're going to start to see is people who didn't comply, who looked at this and said, okay, no, the best decision for me is not to do this. Oh, okay, well, you're not allowed to be in polite society anymore. We are making the second class a citizen. This is your yellow star. So I do hope her the best. I hope that she does well with herself and everything else that comes off of this. So thank you for your service, Allison Williams, and hopefully we will talk later.
So I know I've been a bit
Okay, we're not going to listen to you again, but I will talk to you again. All right, from the LA Times. Trans Netflix employees will stage a walkout in protest of controversial Chappelle Show special. From Christy Karras. Transgender Netflix employees and co-workers will stage a walkout next week, protesting the streaming giant's decision to release Dave Chappelle's latest comedy special, multiple Netflix staffers have confirmed to the LA Times. On October 20th, members of the Netflix employee resource group Trans Star and their allies will take a day of rest, prompted by their concerns about Chappelle's The Closer, which includes several transphobic remarks. I encourage all members of Trans Star and allies not to work for Netflix that day. As we've discussed through Slack, email, text, and everything in between, our leadership has shown that they do not uphold the values for which they are held. A Netflix employee posted Monday in a public company Slack channel, comprising more than 800 staffers representing gender minorities of all sorts and their allies, in a message reviewed by the Times. Between the numerous emails and not answers that have been given, we have been told explicitly that we somehow cannot understand the nuance of certain content. I don't know about you, but asking for us to show the whole story and not just the pieces that harm trans and LGBTQ people is not an unreasonable ask, the employee's Slack statement continued. So I encourage all of us to state clearly that we, as Netflix employees, are stunning, not simply when we are doing the work that our roles demand us, but also when we challenge the very principles of our company. Good luck! Enjoy! Alright, an update on the Scheller story. A judge finds Marine guilty after he posted videos criticizing the U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan, from Ellie Kaufman. A military judge found a Marine who had posted videos on social media criticizing top military leaders' handling of the U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan guilty on 5 charges Thursday in a military court at Camp Lejeune on North Carolina. Marine Corps Judge Colonel Glenn Hines found Lieutenant Colonel Stuart Scheller guilty after he entered guilty pleas to all 5 charges he faced, including contempt towards officials, disrespect towards superior commissioned officers, and failure to obey order of regulation. After videos of Scheller criticizing military leaders about their handling of the withdrawal went viral. Scheller appeared in the courtroom in his Marine Corps uniform, flanked by his military attorney and private attorneys, sitting at a small table in front of the judge. During the special court-martial, Hines went through each change, restating what Scheller had said in each of the social media posts and video he had posted over a month-long period, starting with the video on August 26, criticizing top military leaders' handling of the Afghanistan withdrawal. Scheller's social media posts criticized top generals' choices, including their decision to close Bagram Air Base before Americans and Afghans had been evacuated from the country. In subsequent posts, he criticized the politicization of the Marine Corps and said that together we'll take the whole fucking system down. In another post, he commented that you have no idea what I'm capable of doing. In court on Thursday, Scheller described his distress after he posted that first video. His wife left him. He had sacrificed his retirement benefits by publicly criticizing senior military officials before he had reached 20 years of service and his small business suffered. He said he described his life as spiraling in the weeks after the first video was posted. Scheller was ordered to get a mental health eval after his initial post. In an unsworn statement to the judge, he said he felt the Marines were trying to discredit him after he posted the first video by saying he was suicidal and mentally unwell, and by attempting to argue that he supported the January 6th insurrections. Selfie fest. As for why he continued to post the videos after he was relieved of his command and being investigated, I wanted other service members to see that it's normal to get mad, it's normal to cry, Scheller said. So, sentencing, I believe, will be coming up in the next few months. Scheller, who's been in the Marine Corps since '05, faces a maximum sentence of forfeiting 2/3 of his pay for up to 12 months and a letter of reprimand in which he is discharged as part of a plea deal entered in court. According to the terms of the deal, Scheller will either receive an honorable discharge or general discharge under honorable conditions. The Secretary of the Navy will decide which discharge he receives. So it's out. It doesn't look like he's going to see the inside of a cell, which is good. But yeah, it looks like he's going to be out. He's going to have some of his pension cut and some of his other benefits go. But yeah, we'll see what happens with that. Here's one that I found interesting, but I don't know if there's any truth to it at all. Now, this is, and the guy brought receipts, but I don't know if I believe them. Because it's just a typed up screenshot. And I have found no reporting on this whatsoever. Which generally means it's a bunch of shit. But we'll see what he has to say here. Breaking: the president of the Proud Boys Philadelphia chapter and January 6th conspirator, Zach Rail, in a text message sent at 2:29 p.m. on January 6th saying, "Civil war started." Here's the court doc, as it says. Co-conspirators had pushed into the West Plaza, but they were still approximately 30 minutes from beginning to push up the stairs to the Upper West Terrace. At 1:34 p.m., Rel texted the same group, "We are at a standstill. Cops are dropping concussion bombs and pepper spraying. People are pepper spraying back and fighting riot cops." At 2:29 p.m., after hordes of rioters entered the building, the defendant texted the same group, "Civil war started." He followed at 2:48 p.m. with, "They just broke all the doors and windows open. People are pouring in." And, well, here's the thing. With this being the Proud Boys, I would assume that if this was actually a thing that was breaking, that CNN would have this plastered all over its front page. That Fox would have this plastered all over its front page. That MSNBC would have this plastered all over their front page. That NBC would have this plastered all over their front page. I have no reporting on this whatsoever. I think this is a bunch of shit, but this is something we may see coming up down the road. Something out of this. And the more I watch this, by the way, the more I think the Proud Boys might glow too. It's another one of those situations where they say the line just a little bit too perfectly, for my taste. From the Blaze. Illinois Democrats' extreme gerrymandering inadvertently helps Republicans in 2022 midterm elections. Just wait till you see this map. This is their proposal after they get rid of Kinzinger's district. And I don't know how this potentially helps Republicans either, because this does look like this is going to make Illinois a 13-3 Democrat state. But don't forget, the worst thing in the world you can do is gerrymander and change a district so it's in an unnatural shape. It's an unnatural shape. Nothing is shaped like what these Republicans are gerrymandering their districts in. Dude, wait till you see this thing. But let's read. Democrats in Illinois may have inadvertently helped Republicans after redrawing the state's congressional districts. Illinois Democrats unveiled last week their proposed congressional district map after a congressional apportionment based on the 2020 census resulted in Illinois losing a House seat. The proposed map is heavily gerrymandered and was designed to give Democrats 14 House seats and Republicans just 3. Ready? Nothing is that shape in nature. There are your districts, right there. Explain this to me. Explain it, Lucy. Which one, Fanning? Which one are we looking for the link for? DM me and we'll figure it out. I'll get it for you. But yeah, there it is. There's your proposed map. What kind of shape is this? Or this. A stretch from St. Louis to Champaign. Hitting Springfield. This one? Yeah, I can do that. Give me just a second. Making plans in the chat once again. You'd think my name is Stephen Ignoramus if I keep doing that. Quest, I thought I had a DM from you. There it is. That's the one. Alright. Anyway, let's get back into it here. So, reading back into the Blaze here. There's, that's kind of a blurred out map. That's why we blew the other one up. Let's see. Ironically, prominent Democrats are known for condemning extreme gerrymandering. Just this month, in fact, former AG Eric Holder condemned Republican gerrymandering as a real danger to our democracy. Notice he did not say anything about Democrat gerrymandering, because apparently gerrymandering is only a threat to democracy when Republicans do it. Yes, there's that good old Glenn Beck op-ed in a factual article. According to congressional districting expert David Wasserman, Illinois Democrats, instead of bolstering Democratic control over Illinois congressional seats, have actually made 3 seats currently held by Democrats potential toss-ups in the 2022 midterm elections. Illinois Democrats appear to have gone out of their way to make their gerrymander less efficient. As proposed, Illinois 3, 14, and 17 would be close to toss-ups in 2022, with few slight different choices. Example, on the right, 14 of 17 districts would have been Biden plus 10 or more, Wasserman explained. So that's what they're saying off of that. The extreme gerrymandering is so bad, according to Wasserman, that one Republican strategist joked that the GOP mole must have helped Democrats draw the map. One GOP strategist called this afternoon and joked to me that they must have been a Republican mole in Illinois. Dem's map drawing room. A DC Dem consultant fuming over the map. If you're going to make it that ugly, at least make it more effective, Wasserman said. Even in downstate Illinois, where Dems faced no incumbent constraints, they stranded a few hyper-blue precincts in ultra-red districts, costing Illinois 13 and Illinois 17 a few points of Biden margin. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see, but it's my favorite thing to look at this is the fact that, you know, they come out and say that all of your districts have to be squares and or by county lines or something or other like this here, and then we get this monstrosity. From the Post-Millennial, which I got a couple of them from today. ACLU backs compelled speech policy in Loudoun County, Virginia. From Libby Evans, there we go. The ACLU filed a brief in opposition to free speech. The ACLU, which has been on the decline with regards to its defense of citizens' rights, just as it's been increasing in its adherence to backing progressive political status quo, is fighting against the public school teachers who do not believe they should be compelled to ally with views to which they are fundamentally opposed. The issue is pronouns, and whether the teacher should be compelled to use pronouns of a student's choosing, and the venue is much maligned school district of Loudoun County, Virginia. This is the court document. 3 teachers in Loudoun County are going to court simply because they don't want to use trans and non-binary students' pronouns. We and partners filed an amicus brief to tell the court refusing to use the students' pronouns because of who they are is discrimination. A policy in that school district requires teachers to use the pronouns dictated by the student for that student. A physical education teacher at Leesburg Elementary School, Byron Tanner Cross, was told that he must use his students' preferred pronouns. He refused and was placed on administrative leave in May. Okay, well, this is what you're going to be fighting your battles for. Don't be surprised when nobody takes your fucking ass seriously. Your freedom of speech is tantamount. Now, yes, if you don't use the preferred pronouns, I reserve the right to call you an asshole. But actually making legal punitive action against a person for not using my magical not Twitter, what the fuck is it? Tumblr, my magical Tumblr gender pronouns. You have to face fines and lose your job for that. No, fuck that, dude. Fuck that out loud. But hey, they're going to keep trying to do it. And they're going to do it in Loudoun, where they're already facing down the issues of a trans student who is a boy, apparently trapped, or a girl rather, trapped in a boy's body, who is so trapped in a boy's body that he also gets to go into a bathroom and stick his girl wiener by force into a girl. Apparently, allegedly. Still gets his day in court. And there's the court document, which we can put that in the Discord for you. From ABC 7. UK lawmaker David Amos, stabbed in Eastern England, has died. From the Associated Press by Jill Lawless. I wish I could be lawless. A long-serving member of Parliament was stabbed to death Friday during a meeting with constituents at a church in England, an attack that united Britain's fractious politicians in shock and sorrow. A 25-year-old man was arrested at the scene. Police gave no immediate details on the motive for killing the 69-year-old Conservative lawmaker. David Ames did not identify the suspect, who was held on suspicion of murder. The attack came 5 years after another MP, Jo Cox, was murdered by far-right extremists in her small-town constituency, and a renewed concern about the risk politicians run as they go about their work representing voters. British politicians generally are not given police protection when they meet with their constituents. Essex police said officers were called to reports of stabbing in the town of Leigh-on-Sea just after and arrested a man and recovered a knife. We're not looking for anyone else in connection with the incident, and we do not believe there's an ongoing threat to wider public, the police said. Sky News and other media said Ames was attacked during a regular meeting with constituents at a Methodist church in a residential section of the seaside city about 40 miles east of London. Paramedics worked at the scene without success to save his life. Ames had been a member of Parliament for South and West, which includes Leigh-on-Sea, since 1997, and had been a lawmaker since 1983, making him one of the longest-serving politicians in the House of Commons. A traditional Conservative on the right of his party, he was a well-liked figure with a reputation for working hard for his constituents and campaigning ceaselessly to have the South End declared a city. Well, here's the issue that I have with this. They say that there's no motive that's found, and yet you are sitting here trying to tell us that the Conservatives and the Tories in your government are the cause for all the problems that the government is currently facing and the country is now facing. Your gas shortages, those are Conservative and Tory problems. Your Brexit, those are Conservative and Tory problems because they voted for the Brexit. They're giving you your trade deficits, they're giving you your gas deficits, and they are causing all the problems you have. And you don't think it's out of the question that some nutjob with a fucking knife would go off and stab somebody for that? Are you out of your mind? From Insider, a priest tried to give the last rites to the murdered British MP, who was a devout Catholic, but he was denied access because it was a crime scene, police say. From Bethany Dawson. Police attending the scene, where Sir David Ames, MP, was stabbed to death, had to stop a priest from performing the last rites because it was a crime scene. The MP died after being stabbed multiple times at his Essex constituency surgery on Friday, in what police are treating as a terrorist incident. A local priest, Father Geoffrey Woolnough, attempted to enter the scene to perform the sacrament on the Conservative MP, the Mail Online reported, but was refused access as per crime scene management rules. Ames was a devout Catholic, and the last rites, also known as commendation of dying, are a traditional and essential practice for those of Catholic faith who are about to die. Father Woolnough rushed the police cordon, but was not allowed to enter. The officer said it was because of the crime scene and also the nature of the scene. It was just not possible, he said per the Mail Online. A spokesperson for Essex Police told Insider that they could not risk the crime scene being tampered with or altered as the situation was ongoing. As with any police incident, it is of the utmost importance that we preserve the integrity of a crime scene and allow emergency services to tend to those in need. A cordon is put in place to secure and prevent contamination of the area. So, well, hopefully Christ forgives his sins. Even without getting the last right, hopefully he is still allowed his place into heaven. And that's what we have for that. Alright, just a few more here, then we'll be done. Antarctica's coldest winter on record doesn't disprove global warming. This is from CTV News. From ctvnews.ca staff, so our friends to the Great White North. We've all heard it before. The weather gets cold and jokes come out. Whatever happened to global warming? Sometimes, though it's not a joke, sometimes it's a sign that the person asking the question doesn't fully grasp the science behind climate change. They may not realize that at one data point, Antarctica's coldest winter on record, for example, isn't enough to invalidate a wider trend. How do you respond to somebody like that? CTV News science and technology specialist Dan Riskin gives it a try on this week's Riskin Report. So this was an advertisement, basically, but here's the reality. Your narrative is cracking down. It's breaking down around you. Climate change is real. As far as man-made, the jury's still out on that. And I don't believe it's completely man-made. Yes, it's real. Climates change. They get warmer as we go along, and they get colder as we go along. We're going to have an especially cold winter this year, according to the Almanac. We're going to have a massively cold winter this year, according to the Almanac. Which is why our fuel prices are going to get hard. They're going to get hard to tolerate and hard to deal with. It's going to be harder to heat our homes and our cars and our trucks. I'm kind of really glad I put a battery in last year because, well, the battery was already weak and I don't think it would have made it, well, it would have made it through the summer because it was warm, but I don't think it would have made it into another winter. But it's going to change. It's going to shift. We've had ice ages, we've had cooling periods, we've had heating periods, we've had warm winters, we've had cold winters. And yes, I am the environmentalist type who says that if you want to see some sort of change in your environment, plant a tree. Pick up trash in your park. Clean your own house first. But I just love how their entire narrative falls apart around them and they try to double down on it. Another one from the post-millennial, BLM co-founder Patrisse Cullors appointed as a Los Angeles County Commissioner. From James Anthony. Patrisse Cullors, who self-identifies as a trained Marxist, has just been appointed as a commissioner for the LA County Arts Commission. Cullors, one of the co-founders of the Black Lives Matter organization, was recently caught up in a scandal regarding her multiple luxury properties and wound up stepping down as an executive director of BLM in May of 2021. Cullors will serve on behalf of 2 million residents of the 2nd District, stated LA County Supervisor Holly J. Mitchell in a press release. Patrisse has demonstrated her understanding of this and has experience using various mediums of art and community engagement to inspire and create change. Patrisse shares my commitment to equity and justice and will use her creativity to make arts and culture more accessible for the residents throughout the 2nd District, Cullors continued. So she can't be in the Marxist organization anymore because she goes out and buys all these massive houses and is questioned as to whether or not she used BLM funding to do so. So now, instead, she's going to work for the government and be questioned as to how she's going to use those government funds for the housing that she buys. No, that one deserves a Fall Out Boy one. Alright. So that's coming to Los Angeles. From CBS News, I found this one interesting. We had to skip this one on Friday because we were out of time. Self-driving cars turning down a dead-end San Francisco street. Neighbors say they come every 5 minutes. From no author given. Residents of a dead-end San Francisco street are used to hearing the hum of autonomous vehicles, telling CBS San Francisco they've seen a recent influx of Waymo's self-driving cars turn down 15th Avenue in the city's Richmond district before turning around and leaving again. The cars, equipped with technology and human driver in case of emergencies. Well, I hope they have a human in there. That's the point of having the car. That's to transport a human. Equipped with technology and a human driver in case of emergencies appear completely baffled as they take the street and make a multi-point turn to get out of the dead end. CBS San Francisco reported. Not long after one car is gone, another one shows up and does the same thing, and it never really stops, according to the street's residents. There are some days when it can be up to 50, Jennifer King told CBS San Francisco. It's literally every 5 minutes, and we're working from home, so this is what we hear. The company was originally Google's self-driving car project before becoming a separate subsidiary of the tech giant's parent Alphabet. It launched a ride-hailing program with its self-driving vehicles in San Francisco for trusted testers in August, reported TechCrunch. We've talked to the drivers who don't have much to say other than the car's programmed, and they're just doing their job, King told CBS San Francisco. Neighbors said they don't often see passengers. Well, that's curiouser and curiouser. But, regardless, yeah, we're not there, folks. We're not there on tech yet. It's cool that this technology is budding. I actually think it's really cool. Obviously, a little bit wary of the Skynet and the robots and everything. I've seen The Matrix and all that kind of stuff, but I think it's really cool that we're getting down into this and we're building systems intelligent enough that we can do this because, quite frankly, and it was part of the sermon this past Sunday too, by the way, but with cell phones, distracted drivers, texting, and everything else like that, our drivers are starting to suck, dude. They are. They're starting to suck big time. So I could see some of this becoming, and it's not just, the texting and driving guy. It's the guy who's out there who's got to finish out his business meeting before and do it in the cab. Which, I mean, at which point you would just go on, take a cab or check an email. And this is going to be some stuff that could go into our regular passenger vehicles as well. But because we're looking at this, because the Google system or the Alphabet system knows, because they do this 50 times a day, that this is a dead end and they can't come back and adapt to it yet. We're not there yet, folks, on that technology. It's cool that we're trying because, if we don't try to go for progress, we never get progress. But we're not there yet. It's just not there. What do we have going on here? What are we talking? Official school email secretary. Man is allowed to hide this. I guess I'll have to ask some of you guys after the fact of what you're talking about as far as man goes. Because I would like to cover that if that's something that's important. I would like to cover that. Alright. 3 more. And then we'll get out of here. We'll do a Ferengi Rule of Acquisition and go see my friend, Stephen Ignoramus, who everybody should be watching. Daily Ignoramus, every morning. From the New York Post. Isn't that a nice, juicy burger, you guys? Doesn't that burger make you hungry? Doesn't that make you just want to get up and eat? From the New York Post, McDonald's rolling out McPlant, meatless burger at select U.S. restaurants. From Will Fewer. McDonald's announced Thursday it will test its meatless McPlant burger, created in partnership with Beyond Meat, at a handful of restaurants across the U.S. next month. Starting November 3rd, McDonald's will roll out its alternative meat patty in Irvine, Texas, Carrollton, Texas, Cedar Falls, Iowa, Jennings, Louisiana, Lake Charles, Louisiana, El Segundo, California, and Manhattan Beach, California. You're gonna do this in Texas? Are you out of your fucking mind? Okay. It will be the first time the burger giant sells a plant-based meat imitator in the U.S. The The limited test will help Chicago-based burger giant understand how offering a burger with plant-based patty impacts the kitchens in our restaurants, it said. The meat-free patty is made from ingredients including peas, rice, and potatoes, and will be served on a sesame seed bun with tomato, lettuce, pickles, onions, mayonnaise, ketchup, mustard, and American cheese, the company said. McDonald's has been slower to jump on the white-hot plant-based meat trend than its peers. White Castle, for example, was one of the first nationwide chains to jump on board with the 2018 rollout of the Impossible Slider, which was created with Beyond Meat rival Impossible Foods. Dude, I haven't had White Castle in so fucking long. I like White Castle, I really do. I think that White Castle is delicious. Wait, didn't a movie start this way once? And weren't there wacky adventures that went along with that? I don't know, I've never seen a movie in my life. Burger King has also leaned into the movement with its Impossible Whopper. The restaurant brand's international-owned chain is now testing meatless chicken nuggets. If the trial is successful and McDonald's rolls out the McPlant burger more broadly, it could be a boon to Beyond Meat and help dominate the plant-based meat industry. Shares of Beyond Meat were last seen trading more than 1% higher at 106.36 a share, but the stock is down almost 14% since January 1st. So here's my question. If you don't want to eat meat, which is fine, I don't understand you, but it is your body, your choice. It's the same thing I say about the vaccine. I don't understand why you don't want to eat meat. I don't get it. If God didn't intend us to eat animals, he wouldn't have made them taste so delicious. But if this is something you want to do, okay, don't eat meat. There are a lot of great options for this. I mean, you get your protein from peanut butter. I do that every once in a while as a snack because I can't eat chips, I can't eat sandwiches. But a spoonful of peanut butter, or I can't eat ice cream or anything else like that because I'm on the keto diet, which actually, it seems to be working. My pants are fitting better and better as we go, but I mean, you can get your protein from that. It's a nice low-carb substitute. There's plenty of broccoli. There's plenty of savory stuff. Plus, you know, there's non-dairy ice creams. There's stuff like that. If you really want to go vegan or vegetarian like that, there's options for you. But what I don't understand, and this is the thing that's baffled my mind ever since they started talking about Impossible Meat, or Beyond Meat, or any of these other things out there, is if you don't want to eat meat, why do you still want to eat stuff that looks and tastes like meat? I don't get that. I don't understand. Just eat the meat. Just eat the damn meat. Seriously. If you're that hard up to go back and eat meat, and really honestly, if you're going into a vegan lifestyle and it's for health, why the fuck are you going to McDonald's in the first place? You're supposed to feel bad when you eat McDonald's. Actually, if you get rid of the bun, it's not as bad, by the way. If you just eat the burger patty with the cheese and, you know, I know on the keto diet I'm not supposed to do the condiments, but I do anyway. Just get the burger without the bun. You don't feel near as bad. I can tell you that from experience. But just, if you're going to McDonald's, you're supposed to feel bad about it. You're supposed to feel bad in your stomach. It's fast food. It's bad for you. So, anyway, that's that. I got one from Slate that I wanted to touch on just briefly here. Because, well, it's a human interest story, and it's Slate, so nobody really wants to listen to Slate. But my friend Seawall, who's going to be on the Red Net show tonight, found this interesting, so I wanted to talk a bit about it, and this is also going to be on the roster for tonight's show as well. I found a creepy list on my son's laptop from Doyen Richards. My son, Jack, 14, has been maintaining a spreadsheet that tracks all of his classmates' problematic actions. Jack has always had difficulty fitting in, but he is a compassionate and intelligent boy. Our son is so compassionate and intelligent. He's an honor student. We do not allow our children to have their own computers to prevent the risk of them being radicalized by all... Jesus fucking Christ. from being radicalized by alt-right websites, so our kids share a laptop that we monitor and control access to. We found an Excel spreadsheet in Jack's folder that listed the names of all his classmates, as well as dates and descriptions of their problematic behavior. Some of the descriptions I saw include, has a mom who was a cop, no pronouns in Insta bio, laughed at a fat joke, list problematic shows as their favorites, mimicked a foreign accent, and used cis-normative language. Well, I'm pleased to see Jack taking an interest in his peers, so I get a weird feeling about the spreadsheet. As much as I don't condone the behaviors mentioned, it seems a bit creepy for him to be monitoring his classmates. No, this thing where you don't want them to have access to alt-right websites. This is the surveillance state you're looking for. I always wonder what he's trying to do with the document. Another concern is that we are white and some of the kids on the list are black. Given the long history of white people, Jesus fucking Christ, policing black existence, I question whether Jack is the right person to be taking on this task and whether it would be more appropriate coming from a BIPOC person. We have asked Jack about the spreadsheet and he denies involvement, but we know that it couldn't be anyone else. Am I right to be concerned about Jack's list? I don't know that it is the best way for him to engage with his peers and promote social justice. On the other hand, I am proud of how committed he is to this cause, and I don't want to stop him from bearing witness to injustices with his own community. Dear POP, based on what you've mentioned here, his list does seem a little creepy. Kids at that age should not be having fun not documenting every transgression his peers are making. You caused this slate. Also, the fact that he's blatantly lying about his involvement in creating this list should be a huge red flag. If everything is on the up and up, then what does he have to hide? I would personally call his bluff and say, okay, if the spreadsheet has nothing to do with you, then let's delete it. If he raises a stink, then you know something bigger is at play here. I respect your viewpoint about being uncomfortable with Jack policing the behaviors of his black peers, but as a black man, that should be the least of your concerns. Your main objective is to find out why he wants to monitor his classmates in the first place. Because he wants to be a good little Stasi soldier. He wants to be a good little Stasi citizen and tell the men in the funny Hugo Boss uniforms that this person isn't vaccinated. Get him! Get him! Is he trying to be social justice vigilante in an effort to be viewed as cool? Does he want his classmates to be canceled for doing things that he considers to be wrong as a form of payback for not being accepted by them? I'm going to go with that one. The possibilities are endless. If you don't feel equipped to get to the bottom of it, then I highly recommend getting a therapist, government controlled of course, involved because his behavior is not typical for a 14-year-old. On a positive note, there are far worse things Jack could be doing. Really? And it seems that if his heart is in the right place by being in the corner of marginalized groups, he could use his energy to volunteer as a big brother. Yeah, that's what we need. Write for the school newspaper if they have one. Yeah, that's what he needs. Or look for other opportunities at the school to make everyone feel included. I just think the spreadsheet is something that could end up being bad news for him, and I hope you enroll him in therapy so an unbiased mental health professional can tell him the same thing. Yeah. Anyway, before I start screaming, I might need to step away from that one and clear my fucking head. That made my brain hurt. Alright, let's cleanse our palate, let's do some libs of TikTok, and then we'll be done. Full disclosure, I have no idea what's coming off of this. But I saw the glasses and the mousy demeanor, and I knew that it was going to be entertaining. But I've not listened to this. I have no idea what's coming. So those of you who have listened to this, no spoilers. But let's see what this fun stuff is.
It's time to talk about race. Tonight, as I was tucking in my
Jesus.
6-year-old, she, out of the blue, expressed that she wishes she had fancy hair. I asked her, what does that mean? And she said, well, my friend has braids with beads at the end. I don't know if you've noticed, I'm white. I'm real white. And I am aware that braids with beads at the end is a traditionally black hairstyle. I'm also aware of our nation's not so positive history of appropriation. So I'm genuinely and vulnerably curious, is there a respectful way for my white child to express her admiration and explore her own expression of her black friend's hairstyle? It's time to talk about race.
Are you just saying your kid, what'd she say, 5-year-old?
Tonight, as I was tucking in my 6-year-old.
6-year-old. Did you just call your 6-year-old an imperialist and a racist? She likes and appreciates the culture. She wants to try it. She wants to taste a different culture. You know who else has had braids? Not with beads, obviously, but you know who else has had braids in this person's hair? Small little braids all across the top of the head. This guy right here. The last time I grew my hair out, just on a whim because I was a big Korn fan at the time, a couple of my cousins and my sister came together during one Christmas, it was Easter, one Easter celebration, and put braids in my hair so I could be like the bassist from Korn. Had nothing to do with race. It wasn't dreads, obviously, because I kept growing my hair out after that, after they all came out. I looked like fucking Debbie Gibson after they all came out. All the frizz and everything. It looked like I just stepped out of 1980 fucking 2. But it's not a race thing, you guys. What? Oof. I am not reading that out loud. Oof. Come on. Oh. Rip your mentions. Yeah, dude. I've had the braids. It's happened. It's not that big of a deal. If you want to try it, try it. If you don't try it. But you've got bigger concerns in the world than whether or not your little girl, your 6-year-old, wants to have braids with beads on the end. They're also not going to stand up like her peers are. I'm sorry. I can tell that from the volume of your hair, woman. Okay, well, that was fun. Let's do one of the rules of acquisition and head out of here for the day and head over and talk to my friend in the live chat, Stephen Ignoramus. Because I know you guys are all mutual fans. Or a lot of you are. I don't know if all of you are, but a lot of you are. So where were we? I think the last one we did was There's Nothing More Dangerous Than an Honest Businessman. That was from Legend of the Ferengi, a DS9 novel. This next one, the 29th Rule of Acquisition, also comes from a DS9 novel, Highest Score. What's in it for me? This one actually kind of hits me just a little bit, right here in the feels, on some of the stuff that we should be paying attention to with this. So, the 29th Rule of Acquisition, what's in it for me? That should be an obvious thing. Now, I am a massive advocate for charity and charitable giving. You all know that. One of the reasons I want to start my own business, one of the big ones that I want to start my own business for, is that so I can do more and do better for charitable giving. That's one of the big ones. I want to be able to give more to the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. I want to be able to get up and free up some time so I can go do walks for the AFSP. I want to give more to food banks. I want to be able to give more cash out for Toys for Tots, for the not for the Salvation Army. They skim too much off the top for administrative purposes. I don't typically deal with the Salvation Army, but for Toys for Tots, for private food banks, for local charities, for local things, for churches, for anything else like that. I love to give out to charity, and I advocate for everybody else to do so as well. But what's in it for me? That's what we need to look at and analyze right now. Because if all that you ever do is to give everything away, and I mean, that even goes as far as to the point of my goal for Turn Some Pages, to make sure that Freckles, Britt, Rachel, John, Seawall, Midget, RRC, Mrs. RRC, Steven, Birkenhoff, Elaine, if she comes back. I don't know if she is or not, but if she comes back, or if I get a different co-host, I want to make sure that all of these people never, ever, ever have to want for anything else again. But what's in it for me? That's what we need to analyze, because if you give everything away, then you'll have nothing else to give, and you'll have nothing else to sustain yourself off of. So when you do a transaction, it's honorable and it's notable to go out and make sure that you do transactions, you do activities, and you conduct your life in a way that helps the other people. That's the Christian way. That's the Christ-like way to do so. But do not forget to take some time and take care of yourself too. That's also important. That's also very important that you yourself get taken care of, that you take care of your own needs, that you take care of your own household, that you keep the roof over your head, that you keep the truck under your ass so you can go back and go out and help more people. Because if you lose everything, you can't help any more people. Even if you are the most generous, charitable person in the world, if you lose everything, that puts a damper on how many people you can help. So just remember, as you're going through this, not only how can you help other people, but what is in it for you? That's a good rule of acquisition. That actually is really good. And yes, I'm sure the Ferengi, as they're going into the Golden Treasury, think of this in a different way, in a more greedy way, but this is an important one to watch for and pay attention to. Make sure that you're taking care of it while you're taking care of everybody else. Still take care of everybody else, but also make sure that you are taken care of as well. Alright, that's it. We're done. We're out of here. Let's change the track and let's finish out for the day. Let's see. Gotta set the volume here for everything. Alright. Let's change the track. Let's finish up. Alright, so thanks everybody who came by, chatted in the live chat, kept me honest, kept me going on some of the stuff, and reminded me of what stuff is going to wind up being worse and what stuff is going to be better. So we'll be back here later on tonight with the Rednet Show featuring the mysterious and shadowy one named Seawall. I think he's got a surprise because he's not going to put his face or his gear on, so I think he's got a virtual webcam that I think he's going to do. I'm kind of curious to see how this is all going to work. I don't know, but we'll see how that goes. If nothing else, we'll just get a picture of the saber-toothed cat up in his place. But that's something we'll figure out as we go. But if not for this, then we will also be back here tomorrow with more contemporary, more news, more stuff. We'll probably be talking about the Colin Powell thing. I don't know. I don't know anything about that yet, but we'll find out together. I'll probably find out just as soon as I click the off button here. So otherwise, hopefully we see you in the Stephen Ignoramus chat. Go check him out over at Stephen Ignoramus on most channels. DLive especially, that's the one he prefers. So go and check that out. And we will see you here tonight or tomorrow with more of the channel. Until then, I am Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Take care.